Hello students, today we're going to talk about graphing linear equations. Please don't forget to take notes as you go and complete the survey that follows the video. There are a couple different ways that we can graph linear equations. The first way we can do it is from a table. We can be given or create a table of values, plot those points and connect them, and it should form a very straight line. The other way we can do that is from the equation. We will be talking about this in the future. However, you would identify your slope and y-intercept, create 2 points, and also draw a straight line. So what we're going to be doing today is focusing on tables. So let's take a look at our very first example. If we're already given a table, we can go ahead and graph or plot the points that are given to us. So in this one here, our x value is -2, our y value is -3 as our very first coordinate. So from the origin, which is the very center, we're going to go to the left 2 at -2 on the x-axis and down 3, and we're going to plot our very first point. Then I'm going to move on to my next point, which is -1, 1. So that means I'm going to the left 1 from the origin and up 1, and I'm going to create my second point. Then I'm going to go to my next value, and I have 0, 5. So I don't go left or right on my x-axis, but I'm going to count up on the y-axis 5. So I have 3 points. If you can see, 1, 9, and 2, 13 will not be able to be graphed on the specific coordinate plane. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the points. And what you should notice, it should be a relatively straight line, considering I'm drawing it. But what we have overall is our going up and over is going up by the same amount. So what we have is a straight line. Now, we might not always be given the entire table, so you might have to create it. So in this example, I'm going to show you how we would go about and actually create our table. We can come up with our set of x values. What we do is usually take a look at the slope and try to identify what values of x we should use. And this one is 4x plus 5. Since 4 is a whole number, we can use the values from -2 to 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute the values of x into our equation. For example, we'll do 4 times -2 plus 5 and get an answer. So 4 times -2 is -8 plus 5 is -3. And I repeat that with -1. So I have 4 times -1 plus 5. 4 times -1 is -4 plus 5 is 1. And then we're going to continue this process. If I put in 0, I get the number 5. If I plug in 1, I get 9. And if I substitute in 2, I would get 13. So now I'm going to graph these points that I have here. The first one is -2, -3, so I go over 2 and down 3, and I would plot my very first point. The next one here is -1, 1, so I go over 1 and up 1, and I plot my second point. Then I'm going to finally plot my third point here, 0, 5, because that fits on the graph, and then I'll connect my 3 points that I have. Okay, so if I did give you the table, like in the last example, you would just plot those points. However, with that one, we would go ahead and substitute in our values. Now, sometimes our equation isn't going to be in slope-intercept form. If that's the case, then we have to solve like we did with our literal equations. So what we're going to do is essentially solve for y. Since we have ourselves a subtraction problem, the first thing we need to do is either add or subtract the x value. Since x is positive, we're actually going to subtract that from both sides. The x's will cancel on the left, but -9 and -x are not like terms, so we cannot combine them together. So we have -9 minus x. Then from there, we're going to divide everything through by -3. So on the left-hand side, when I divide by -3, the 3's cancel. On the right-hand side, keep in mind we have to divide -9 by -3 and also by x by -3. Our resulting answer would be y equals 3 plus 1/3. The reason it's a plus 1/3 is because we have ourselves a -x and a -3. And keep in mind, on top of or with x is essentially a 1. Now, for these problems here, identify where the slope is, which is always with the x value. Since the bottom number is a 3, what you're going to want to do is make sure that you are putting values in for x that are divisible by 3. So always include the number 0, and then I'm going to count up by 3's and count down by 3's. Then I'm going to repeat the same process that I did before. So what you're going to want to do is substitute the values of -6 through 6 in. So we'll have 3 plus 1/3 times -6. So if I multiply 1/3 times -6, I'll get -2. -2 plus 3 is 1. Then I'm going to repeat that next process, or next problem. I'll have 3 plus 1/3 times -3. Well, -3 times 1/3 is -1. -1 plus 3 is 2. If I were to continue this, I would get 3, 4, and 5. So now what I'm going to do is plot my points. The first one is negative 6, 1. So I go to left 6 and up 1, and I would draw my very first point. Then I would do negative 3, 2. So to left 3, up 1, 2. Then I would go to the left none, or right none, but up 3. And I would continue plotting all my points. So once I've plotted all my points, I can then go ahead and connect my points, and I would draw myself a straight line. Now if you have any zigzag moments, then you know that you have yourself a wrong number somewhere in your y value. So let's just take a look at one more, or essentially two more examples. These are our special cases. We have two problems here. We have y is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to negative 4. The thing that happens here is if we have y is equal to negative 4 and we start substituting values in, what should always happen is the y value is negative 4. So when I go through and I start plotting my points, what you'll see is a special type of line formed. So if I have 0, negative 4, that's found down here. 1, negative 4, 2, negative 4, 3, negative 4. What you're going to see is all of these are sitting on a horizontal line. So y equals negative 4 goes through where y is equal to negative 4, and we would draw a left to right line, or essentially a horizontal line. Same thing happens with x equals negative 4. So in this one here, what's different now is that every single x value will always be negative 4. So now when I were to graph those points, if I graph negative 4, 0, negative 4, 1, negative 4, 2, negative 4, 3, you can see that this one is going to draw an up and down line, or a vertical line, through x is equal to negative 4. So this is a little bit different in the sense that we're not going to have any kind of slanted line. Y equals negative 4 is horizontal, and x equals negative 4 is a vertical line. If you have any questions, please either answer them, put them in the survey, or bring them to class tomorrow. Don't forget to complete the survey. See you tomorrow.